How's it going, everyone? It's Presto here, and I thought with the patch coming out today, I would do a quick rundown video of everything in it to see what my thoughts are and what I think the meta is going to be after that. So let's just get into it. If I just move it over here. Alright, so patch 1.2. Patch 1.2 features our first balance changes since the debut of Rising Tides, as well as a bunch of card clarity updates. Also, for a limited time, you can permanently unlock an exclusive Rainbow Poro Guardian and accompanying emote for free. That sounds cool. I want to see what that is. As a reminder, starting with this patch, we're adjusting how we patch LOR to make sure everyone gets to play on new versions as simultaneously as possible, regardless of platform or location. The short version is we'll be continuing to patch every other Tuesday, but you usually won't see changes until about 24 hours later. Okay. It's a bit weird. What's next for LOR? I think this is the esports update they're going to be doing. Executive producer Jeff Dew and design director Andrew Yip are almost ready to share the details on what's coming up next for Legends of Runeterra. Look out for the video at 10 a.m. PT on May the 29th. It's pretty soon. I think that's Friday. I'm gonna skip over this. They're gonna update some cards. We're gonna look into the juicy bits. So the first card updated is Vladimir, and it changes to, for each other attacking ally, deal 1 to it and 1 to the enemy nexus. Instead, it's now gonna be for each other attacking ally, deal 1 to it and drain 1 from the enemy nexus. So I think this is actually a really cool change. But I'm just going to read what they said first just to get into that. So while this patch is focused on numbers changes, Vladimir has been failing short of the play rate. Yeah, it's the lowest played champion in the game. Gameplay satisfaction and champion resonance level we strive for in our champs. So we're making a more complex change by making Vlad's level 2 effect a drain. In addition to making Vlad feel even more like a life-draining battle mage, this change should provide Vlad decks with additional utility and a more exciting, impactful payoff for his level up requirement. Now, what's interesting about this is the decks that currently would play Vlad, they don't, because they'd just play Swain instead. Those decks don't have access to healing. So this effect could be really, really interesting. I think this is a massive buff for Vlad. Drain effects are just generally pretty good. You could also see this going in like a Vlad Hecarim deck, something like that, where you just build a big board and you do lots of damage to it. And then you can also have the drain unit from Shadow Arts there as well. Overall, though, I don't think Vlad's going to be that much more played because just the design isn't that great for him. But I think this will help. It definitely is a really good step in the right direction. Now for the big one. The Karma nerf. I know what a nerf it is. The cost goes from 5 to 6. Really? People are suggesting so many really good things for this champion, and all they do is nerf the cost. This changes literally nothing. Like, it doesn't change tempo with Karma because you're not playing her turn 5 or 6 normally. And if you do, you're probably in a bad spot. You've got other things to do. And realistically, 1 mana doesn't really change a lot about that she can just one-shot you. Right? Like, you play a turn 9 with a protection spell. And then turn 10, you just kill your opponent. That is it. So I think this is a really lazy nerf on a really lazy card. The design of this card is totally broken in my opinion. It doesn't need a nerf, it needs a rework. It's one of the only cards in the game that I think actually just straight up is broken. It's either too good or just not good enough. Based on, like, they could make this card a 10 mana card and then Karma wouldn't be that great. But the effect is still broken. So I just think she needs a rework. She needs a change because the design is lazy and it causes a lot of problems in the competitive environment. It might not be seen too bad, like early on, in like, you know, bronze to plat. People might not see this as a problem so much, but in masters and tournaments, Ionia just dominates. You have to ban Ionia decks just because of Karma existing. There's a lot of games you play, like you play a control deck without Ionia, versus a control deck with Ionia that has Karma, and you just know you can't win because you don't have the ability to kill them before turn 10, and after turn 10, they can never deck themselves out, ever. They have infinite healing, infinite damage, infinite card draw, basically, a lot of the time, because of the way they build their decks. So yeah, Karma's a problem. Nerfing it, you could nerf it to 9 mana, it would still be a problem. You need to do a lot more with this than just nerf the mana cost, in my opinion. Shen. Shen has had his power increased from 2 to 3, and they've got the wrong image, but the leveled up version is going to be 4 power. So Shen has been among the least played champions for some time, especially as he tends to require including Demacia in your deck to really shine. For now, we're boosting his power to make him more of a threat on his own and easier to plan profitable attacks around. This is fine. I don't think this will change much about him. Support units aren't great, in my opinion. I think Shen's probably the best one, but 1 attack's not going to make that much of a difference. It's just going to mean that anything that chum blocks him probably dies, which is fine. I'm totally for this change. He probably does see a bit more play now, but they've nerfed Demacia quite a lot, so I think that's going to be a bit of a counteraction to him. What might happen is he gets put as the 4 drop slot for instead of other things. Vi, a 1 health nerf. I don't like this either. I think I would have preferred a 2 attack nerf, because it would have slowed her down. But I think the point of Vi is that she needed to be powerful and beefy. Like, she needed to be beefy. I think that was the point. She needed to not die. But now she's gonna die much easier. One health on a toughness creature or champion is essentially a 2 health nerf. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I don't think a card in the game has ever been nerfed by 2 health just straight up in one go. This card has, essentially. Obviously there's scenarios where that's not quite 2 health, but in when you're doing lots of ping based things, it's 2 health. So that's a big nerf. It's honestly a big nerf. What have they said about it? So while Vi doesn't offer a particularly game warping effect like some champions, she's overperforming in multiple decks due to the raw strength of her baseline stats. We want to adjust her to be less of a generalist, best in slot champion for Piltover and Zaan, while retaining most of her power in decks that synergize with her kit. Yeah, I mean, I personally would have just preferred a 2 attack nerf. It would have slowed her down, which is what they needed, really. I think the beefiness was quite important. But we'll see. Honestly, I could be wrong about this one. Hecarim. Hecarim has gained 1 power at both the leveled up state and the base state. Hecarim's stat line sometimes made it too difficult to find profitable attacks, so we're bumping his power to help him attack into more board states and improve his gameplay satisfaction and overall effectiveness. Scary when you buff the attack of an overwhelm unit. I still remember very well how overpowered Hecarim was in beta. I don't really want to get back to that. I think Hecarim's still good, just not overpowered. Some things outshine him for sure, but we'll see. I don't think this is going to break the game too much. He probably needed a little bit of love, but I don't think making him a stat stick is the way to do it, because that was the reason why he was broken before, why he was too powerful. He just had too many stats for 6 mana. They're essentially doing the same thing again. It's like they're reverting the nerf. But the game has changed a lot since the release of the game, since that nerf has happened. So maybe they want to kind of revert the nerf without actually doing it. I don't know. I'm curious. I think Hecarim should probably see more play now. Thorn Companion has had the power level buffed by 1. So the idea of this is to buff scout decks more. My main concern about this buff is that Remembrance can play this card. Now this card's like nutty in Remembrance decks. A 5/5 is pretty good with scout. So I don't think it needed a buff, but I can kind of understand it because it probably wasn't seeing play outside of Remembrance. It probably still won't, in all honesty. It fights the board for Quinn, and Quinn's someone's Valor, and Valor's pretty good. Quinn's not that great, but Valor's pretty good. Now, Grizzly Ranger. So we've had the one Demacia buff, because we had to do that. But now we're going to have a bunch of Demacia nerfs. We lose from 4 power to 3 power for Grizzly Ranger. And they've said Grizzly Ranger is among the most value-heavy followers in the game. Not only is it resilient, but Scout allows the Ranger to push a ton of damage, force opponents to make suboptimal trades, and ultimately allow Demacia players a mid-game advantage that's been feeling a little bit too free. We're reducing Ranger's power and loyal Badger Bears, so there's a spoiler, to allow players more flexibility and counterplay and deciding when to how to block him. Making him a 4-mana 3/1 that turns into a 4-mana 3/4 is a big nerf. It's 2 power nerf, essentially. It's like if it's like if they made Bannerman a 1/3 or a 2/3. Actually, that would make more sense. That's pretty big. This card probably still sees play, but definitely less so. Definitely less so. It's not just an auto-include now in Demacia decks. I think there needs to be reasons to run this card. So I guess it's a good nerf, but we'll see if it was a bit too much. I think I was okay with Loyal Badger Bear being a 4/4. I know that's crazy because that's just ridiculously overstated for a 3-cost unit, but I was okay with it as long as Grizzly Ranger wasn't as dumb as it was. So I could see them making Grizzly Ranger like a 2/1 and Loyal Badger Bear still a 4/4. But this is probably the better way of doing it. But now I don't know if people actually still play Loyal Badger Bear over Laurent Protege. It depends. If they're playing Bannerman, I think I'd prefer to play Laurent Protege, but we'll see. We'll see. Laurent Cavalier had his health raised by 1. Much better of a unit now. Much better of a unit now. I still don't think it sees a lot of play because it's just based on a strike deck where you protect things. Realistically, that's a bit 2019 instead of the kind of new stuff that's going about. This card will still die on sight before it gets an attack. So it hasn't really changed anything, but they've acknowledged that they've nerfed Demacia a lot, so they want to give Demacia something else. This probably wasn't the thing to give them. Loyal Badger Bear, we've already discussed this. Oh, this one's a big nerf. Last Stand, 4 mana. I mean, they just killed the card, right? That's so bad for them. It only goes in like controlled, like the Immortal Furor decks now, because you can't wait till turn 3 to play something and then still not get to standalone it. That's just so bad. It messes up the curve of the deck so much. And now people can actually go for the killing blow on the thing you play on turn 3 because they know you can't standalone it. I would have preferred the Mark of the Isles treatment and given it +2/+2 instead of making it a 4-mana card. I think making it a 4-mana card breaks it. I want to actually, what did they read? What did they write? Standalone can lead to undesirable gameplay patterns, particularly when one player goes all in on one unit as early as round 3, leading to deterministic games that undermine decision making and turn too sharply on whether the opponent has the answer or is even playing the right region. We're pushing standalone's early game potential back with a cost increase that cuts off the ability to attack on round 3 with a 3-cost unit plus standalone combo. Yeah, I don't like it. It ruins the card. The card's dead. It doesn't see play in the same way as it ever did before. There's probably ways that you can abuse it, but it's much less fun. I quite like standalone. I understand that it was really annoying to play against, but they could have changed it other ways, I think. Legion Rearguard, the nerf that we always knew was going to happen. It shouldn't have been a 3/2 for 1. It was too good. This is pretty fine now. You can now kill it for 1 mana pretty easily. I'm totally fine with this nerf. It should have been there. Burn was far too powerful for the play rate it had, and the play rate was nutty, and the win rate was even nuttier, so it needed a hit. It's a good hit. Kindly Tavern Keeper, making it 3 power. Don't think this needed to happen. Now it's a really good card, a really good card. But Freljord was the weakest region, so maybe it needed it. I don't know. Freljord does have really good 3-drops. It's not really the issue with Freljord right now. The 3-drop package is pretty strong where it is. And it's a bit weird to buff the anti-burn of Freljord when you nerf burn pretty heavily. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with this. But I think it will see more play now, because a 3-mana 3/3 is okay. It's okay, especially if it heals. Deep Meditation. I didn't expect this nerf. Didn't expect this at all. Nerfing it to 5 mana. It's actually gonna hurt a little bit. It's definitely gonna hurt. I think it's still a 3-of in every Ionia deck. Don't get me wrong, but it's gonna hurt. It's a bit like the Skittera change when they made it a 3/2. You're gonna notice it, but you're not gonna change your deck around it too much. And I think those are the perfect nerfs. I'm quite happy with this. I didn't think about it before, but I like it. Boom Kuruki, another nerf that everyone knew was going to happen. This card didn't need to have 4 health. Now it's killable turn 2, whereas it literally wasn't before. I don't think there was a single way in the game to deal with this card turn 2, which is silly. It shouldn't be the case like that. I don't have anything more to say. It's a balanced card now. It makes burn a lot worse, but it's fine. Brood Awakening. I wasn't expecting this. It's now 6 mana again. Doesn't change a huge amount. It will still see play, and realistically, they'll still just play at turn 3 like they were always doing. They just can't. They have to play it like a standalone. I guess it does affect it quite a lot. I mean, I think the card is very, very strong, but I don't think that the decks that it went in were broken. So I don't think they needed to be hit by a nerf. But I can understand if you're nerfing burn, maybe you should nerf the spiders as well. My issue is they haven't really nerfed control enough to counteract any of this. And now PNZ and Ionia are just very, very strong with what we've seen from these changes. Longtooth is 2 health. Cool. It's fine. I mean, it probably needed to be. It's still not very good, but it's better now. It requires more than a parlay to kill, or make it rain. So that's all I can say, really. Monkey Idol is 5 health. Cool. I'll move on from that. That's all I have to say. Oh, Slotbot. This is a change that I'm very interested in. He's now a 1/4 for 3. That becomes a 1/5 or a 2/3, a 2/4. It's very interesting. This card might be amazing in something like Bilgewater Ionia or Bilgewater PNZ. Both those decks exist. Might be very interesting because in a TF deck you want to play a lot of draw anyway. So this card could be really, really good. I'm excited about it. It's fun. It might be broken. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to seeing. I don't know. I think now it becomes playable in very specific decks. Whether or not those decks are good, I don't know. But the card itself is pretty overstated considering what it does in the decks that it goes in. So I like it. I like niche cards that are good in certain decks. The watch list. Unyielding Spirit. I'm very surprised we didn't see an Unyielding Spirit change. Instead, they just nerfed every other card in Demacia. I think they didn't need to. I think they could have just nerfed Unyielding and maybe Grizzly Ranger a little bit. But this is what they decided to do. I trust their judgment. I'm sure they tested a lot of different things. We'll see. Personally, I think Unyielding Spirit is a problem. It's really boring to play against and with. And at least the Grizzly Ranger provided some kind of gameplay fun. Whereas Unyielding doesn't. It doesn't let you interact, really. And it also forces certain regions to be good. Like, regions that can deal with Unyielding automatically become way stronger now because Unyielding is a card. And it's the only card like it in the game. So either all regions should have an answer to it, or it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be so polarizing. We'll see. We'll have to see what they go. What have they said? Unyielding Spirit has been among the more contentious cards in Rising Tides due to its powerful burst speed effect and ability to circumvent opponents' interaction. This card offers some unique challenges in adjusting. as a quick numbers change, it's more likely to just push the card out of playability rather than address any core issues. So for now, we've watch listing it while considering adjustments. I mean, they could make it fast, or they could make it 9 or 10 mana. Basically the only things they could do to that card. I don't mind either. I'm fine with it not being playable, personally. I just think it's really boring. I don't like boring. The same reason with Karma. I think Karma's really boring. It just wins you the game. There's not really a lot of skill to playing the card. The skill involved is getting to the point where you can play it. And Unyielding is even more egregious than Karma in that respect, because you can play at turn 5. At least with Karma, you need to wait till turn 10. Obviously, Karma's probably more powerful when it gets there, but it's also less counterable. But it's an annoying card, so I wouldn't mind making it fast or 9 or 10 mana. But we'll see. We'll see how the meta develops now that Demacia has been nerfed a lot. I think what you'll end up seeing is just more Lux decks that are control decks that have an Unyielding in them. Let's move on to Pilfered Goods, which they're looking at. I mean, the reasoning is they're saying it's frustrating to have your cards stolen. I wouldn't mind if they just revealed what got stolen, or they took from the bottom of the deck instead of the top. I think that if they took from the bottom, just like toss, then I think all the problems would go away. Because it's mainly an issue that Pilfered Goods counters certain decks. Like Freljord as a region, it counters quite heavily. And that's not very nice, but if it just went from the bottom, it wouldn't really have those problems. And I think actually just as a design in the card, the Klepto package is a lot of fun. And it's not broken at all. Like, realistically, Bilgewater is pretty underpowered, I think, compared to Ionia, PNZ, and what used to be Demacia. And they're also looking at Nexus damage, which, I mean, they've kind of countered by dealing with the burn cards quite heavily and buffing some healing. So I don't think they're probably going to need to change that very much. And they're still looking at Karma and Ezreal. I think Karma and Ezreal have been on the radar to be looked at since the game came out. They just need to bite the bullet and rework Karma. Ezreal, I think, is okay. I don't think Ezreal is the problem. I think it's just Karma. This 6 mana change is not going to make any difference to Karma's power level. She's still going to win you the game turn 10 every time. So, overall, I think the patch is pretty good, though. I sound more negative than I feel. Because I think they're definitely moving in the right direction with a lot of these things. I think that Deep should be on the radar now for everyone that... Like, this is my quick meta analysis. Deep is going to be tier 1 because it wasn't changed at all, and Burn was nerfed and Control was nerfed. So yeah, you can definitely win it, like, pretty much against every matchup with Deep now. I think Ezreal Freljord is going to be pretty good. I think looking forward to that because they nerfed Burn, which is the main counter, and Karma and Ionia decks in general are a bit slower. Demacia is going to fall off a lot more. And so will Endure and Burn. Like, the board-based decks are gonna struggle, right? A little bit more. That they've all gotten weaker, and Control hasn't really been hit that much. So we'll have to see what happens there. Bilgewater as well. Like, I could see some slot machine stuff happening. But realistically, I think this is going to be the Control patch, which is fine for me because I'm mostly a Control player. But I think I prefer it when it's an aggro meta, just for the enjoyability of the game. Ionia is going to be very strong. Even like, they nerf one card from Ionia, right? And the Karma nerf isn't a nerf. It doesn't change anything about the card, really. Hecarim and Vlad are 2 outliers that we could see be interesting. I don't think Shen's going to make any difference, especially since they nerfed Demacia. Vi doesn't change the playability of the card. She's still going to go in almost every PNZ deck that can fit her. She's still going to be good. She's just going to be slightly worse. So we're gonna have to see. Realistically, any Ionia control deck is going to be good. Any PNZ control deck is going to be good. Most Shadow Isles control decks are going to be good. And Deep is probably going to be really good, honestly, because aggro decks won't be able to kill it anymore. Mid-range decks never can kill it. And some control decks can go over it, but Maokai does a lot to help that. So yeah, my top pick of the patch would be go Deep or play Karma. Thanks a lot. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will reply to every comment in this video. And stay tuned for my deck guides that are coming out very soon. Thanks, guys.